Hi everybody, I'm Michael. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about this beauty here, the devil's backbone. She also goes by the name zigzag plant, which you can kind of see here. It's a little funky growth habit. She's a wonderful house plant, but she also can be a plant you can put on your patio or out in your garden if you live in zones 10B through 11. So, you all ready to dig in? Let's grow. Devil's backbone, aka zigzag plant, goes by the botanical name Euphorbia tithymalioides, but the botanists are also calling her Pedialanthus tithymalioides variegata, and that's because this plant has this wonderful variegation if you give her a lot of sunlight. The plant normally has a variegation to her leaves, where she has these green centers and these light green edges, but if you give her more light, high light, they're going to definitely turn whitish and be really, really pretty for you. We grow ours inside, but we've also put ours outside for a few months, and she was going crazy. This plant is about 3.5 years old. Took this from a cutting. This plant is super easy to propagate. Took this from a cutting from my friend Adrian's house, a high school friend, a lady that I've known since high school, and she had a Christmas party, and of course I was having a few libations. I wasn't drinking and driving, but I went out, and when my friend was taking me home or to the hotel nearby, I snipped one of these in her front yard, and I think I got a cutting that was only about, I don't know, about this big, and this is what's happened since. It's a really, really cool exotic looking house plant or garden plant if you live down here in zones 10B or 211, 10B to 11. So unique. To talk some more about the plant characteristics, the stem has this waxy feel, and they definitely create this zigzag effect. You'll have it in some more pronounced in some leaves and some stems than others. And the leaves are just spectacular. They have a ruffled edge to them, lanceolate in shape, and they have a green center with a creamy chartreuse green on the edges. But if you give her more light, like I mentioned, she'll definitely bring out a lot more whitish cream color. There's some down here that are just so pretty. It's just a beautiful plant, very exotic looking, you know, just wild. She will want to tend to grow upright at first, and inside she'll get to about 3 feet overall if you grow her to her maximum height. Again, ours is about 3.5 years old, and she's about 18 inches tall, but she's definitely cascaded, as you can see. And when we go into plant care, we're gonna trim these to propagate this side of the plant. So we'll go into that in a little bit. The plant has this upright, but over time they'll start to cascade if you don't prune them. I like the look of this. I think it's really cool. She just does her thing and grows all over the place. But it's really a unique house plant. Really think it's just so cool to have this in your home. If you want to have something as a conversation piece. This is obviously a big plant, but you can maintain this plant. You can grow this at any size you want, and just take pruning and taking cuttings. You do need to be careful when you do the cuttings, because this plant is a sap, and we'll go over that in plant care in a minute. But on the plant characteristics, just to wind that up, it's a really cool plant, about 3 feet inside, 6 feet or so outside. You can plant her when you're outside. You can plant her where she gets full sun, but it could be a problem initially, because when you take a cutting, especially if you're taking from a plant from inside the house, it could shock out if it goes right into full sun. So it's probably best to put them in a shady area to get started, and then move them out into the sun later on. Okay, so now that we've gone over plant characteristics, we're going to rotate over into plant care and talk a little bit also about pruning and taking care and shaping your zigzag plant. On caring for your zigzag plant, let's first talk about taking care of her as a house plant indoors. She will want high light, and that's between 500 and 1,000 foot candles. So you can put her on a west-facing wall. You can get some sunlight, but you have to acclimate her to that, because she'll burn. And I have some, you can see there's some burn marks here when we were first growing her, and I got her a little bit too close too soon, and she she got some burn marks on her stem. But the plant is super tough and she bounced right back. So you want to typically put her where she gets more of a highlight condition, because that will give you more of a variegation, more pronounced variegation on the leaves. But if you don't have that ability, you can still have this wonderful plant and still show some variegation with the green and the chartreuse edging, the medium green and chartreuse edging on the outside of her margins here. If you grow her in medium light, and that's between 100 and 500 foot candles. So that's more like 6-7 feet away from west facing or south facing wall. You can get this plant to do fine. It's very, very adaptable in that regard. On soil, let's talk a little bit about soil. This is a succulent, and she wants to have more of a cactus mix. So when we repotted her about almost a year ago, we repotted in this cactus mix that she really responded well to and exploded in growth. This cactus mix that we recommend for your zigzag is, let's add 60% indoor potting mix. We like Miracle Grow. To that, add 30% worm castings and then 10% perlite. Mix it all together. That gets you 100% of the mix. And then put that in the pot or put it in the container that you're going to be growing her, and she'll just dig it. She'll just love it. Love it, love it, love it. On watering, now we talked about soil, let's talk about watering. Your zigzag will want to be watered every 14 days or so. And you're going to want to test before you water. You want her to dry out between waterings. You want to water well, but you want to let that water all the way drain out. We have ours in a grow bag because we like the way that wicks the water out for her. And you can always use a skewer or your finger and dig down 2 inches. And if your skewer or your finger comes back with no soil and it feels dry to the touch, that means it's dried out in those 2 inches, and you can go and start your watering. But if you notice that your finger's damp, or the skewer or chopstick is kind of wet when you pull it out, hold off on a few more days. This plant probably can handle a little bit more regular watering, but you don't want to push it. That's probably the number one thing I say in all our plant care videos, is that most people kill their plants with kindness. They overwater their plants. So this being a succulent, she holds a lot of water in her stems here, and because she has this waxy feel to her, that keeps this plant from evaporating a lot of moisture out. So she's very adaptable to handling a drought-like condition. So you don't want to overwater this plant. For temperature and humidity, this plant she'll do fine in home AC anywhere, or even if you turn your AC off, she'll go from 60 to 88 degrees, no problem, not an issue at all, and no issues with humidity. She will do fine in home AC, typical around 40% humidity. She probably prefers a little bit more, but we've had no issues with that. On pests, she can get some pests, scale, mealybugs, spider mites. We haven't had any issues. Very relatively pest-free. Not that no plant can't get pests, because we've had some over the years that I thought never got a pest, and then they got some mealybugs. Those mealybugs, I swear to goodness. So on that, we've talked about most of the things I wanted to cover with you on plant care, but I also want to talk to you a little bit now about pruning and shaping and how to care for your zigzag. You do need to be very careful of one thing. This plant has an irritating sap. So when you're cutting it or you're transplanting it or working with the plant, be very careful. And what we have done is some folks have reached out to us from Farmers Defense. These great folks, and they gave us some of these skins that you can put on your hand that you can use, which are super cool. Let me show you. Put it on. And this will help those of you who have sensitive skin. And you put the sleeve on, which is super cool, and it will protect you, especially like if you're out there working on any plants with thorns or stuff that definitely any succulents, a lot of them have sap, crotons. If you're trying to cut down the invasive Brazilian pepper outside, that sap will just tear up your clothes. It's also an irritant. So this is a really cool thing that there's all different types you can get from them. It has a polypropylene, like a spandex type of feel to it, and we'll leave you some information on it. And we're also going to be putting putting this link down there so you can go and check out the stuff from them to see if you want to have one of these for yourselves. But they come in a whole bunch of different types. They have some that have flowers and stuff. They also got some really cool gear. But I want to thank them for reaching out to us and offering this, because this is really cool. Now, let me show you. When you're going to prune your plants, we always recommend, turn around. Spray it down with alcohol, your hands and the cutting shears, because you don't want to move any pathogens into your plant. And you spray your hands, because your hands can also get into it. Now, I'm going to be, here's my glove. I'm going to be putting a glove on too. You don't have to, because your hands typically have callousy enough that the sap won't be an issue, but it's more of the sap. You don't want it to get on any of your skin further away from the palm of your hand. I think this is from my right hand. So I'll do it this way then. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring you in close and we're going to trim this so you can see it up close, and then we'll show you what we're going to do to transplant her in the side. It's really easy. All you have to do is take a cutting and stick her in the soil, and this thing in a few weeks is going to start rooting for you. So we're going to move over now and show you up close how to do that. On pruning and shaping your zigzag, again, you want to make sure you spray down your cutting shears with alcohol in your hands. So what we're going to do here is, this is the area that's going way too far down the side. We're going to start cutting off at these nodes here. So I'm going to come in here and cut a piece right here. And this is what I'm mentioning, is that you want to be careful you don't get this on this milky sap on your skin. So I'm going to set a few down here, make sure I don't touch my other hand. Again, your hands are going to be, your fingers and hands are pretty tough and callous. The sap isn't typically an issue, but some people are sensitive. So for those, I've pruned this many times and haven't had any issues on my hands, but it's always better to have gloves whenever you're coming in contact with cutting the plant. You can see it there. It's not a lot of sap, but sometimes you get to a thick stem and there's quite a bit of sap that comes out. So I'm going to prune her down here. I'm going to hold her away from here so it doesn't get on my hand. And I'm going to prune her right here. This is a big piece. And all of these will make plants. I'll show you that in a second. All right, I'm going to get some of these guys over here. Oh, she's just going crazy. Look at this one. I don't know if you can see well. I'm going to prune her further. I'm going to prune her further back up here so she fills out, because I pruned here and here, and now I pruned here, so they'll grow out at different levels to get a nice full look when she starts filling out with new growth. And then I'm just going to trim a few of these little scraggly guys down here that are just getting crazy down there. And I think that's all I want to do, because I really like that cascade look. I'm going to have to get another pedestal for her to put her on there, because she's filling out so much. So what you want to do now is focus down here on one of these guys. We're gonna plant this kid, and so this one here we've already cleared a lot of there's no leaves on this piece. So all you need to do is basically put this piece into the soil. You can grow this in water and root out in water, but you don't necessarily need to. The cutting that I took from Adrian's house, thank you again, Adrian, we put right directly in soil and she took off. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to the pot, and here's this grow fabric container that I told you about, that we put some plants in our succulents in this, and it helps wick it away. Terracotta pot's good too. And so what you want to do is just find an opening in your soil. There's that cactus soil I mentioned, cactus mix. Open a little hole there, place your zigzag in there, aka devil's backbone, put it down a few inches, tamp the soil back in there, and water, and you're good to go. And you're good to go. And we're going to repeat this a few more times. We have more cuttings than a container will need, but put these in another container and give away to some of our friends as a houseplant gift. All right, so for this one has a little funky node here. So we're gonna cut her off here. You can see that sap. And then you wanna prune these leaves here. You don't have to prune them. You definitely wanna prune them if you're just putting one of the single stems in there. You don't wanna just bury it with the leaves. And you want, like I said, you wanna put a few inches down, but we have enough here to go in. And so we'll just simply come over here again, and then we'll open another little divot in the soil. Oh, there's a lot of roots there. Place her in there. Whoops, sorry everybody. The leaves are getting in the way. I'll push her a little further down, and then tamp the soil back in there. And off we go. Now I'm going to show you back here on the table one more, but I want to give you a good example of if you're pulling a single stem out and you want to plant, let's say this one here. So let's say you have a plant at home that you want to a piece like this, and you only have the stem here. You want to cut a few inches of these leaves off. So let's say you cut a piece and you only had this much of a piece of a stem. You want to get a few inches clearance. You don't want to, like I said earlier, put the leaf into the soil. You want to give just the stem into the soil. And you could trim off a few more of these if you want, because the plant's going to have to start growing roots and you don't want it to dry out. But this plant is so tough, it holds so much water in its stem. We didn't have any issues with ours. And then come back over here, and we'll just go finish it off. If you can see it with all those leaves, we just put this one in there, tamp it down, add some water, and that's it. That's how easy it is. In a few weeks to a month, these things are going to root out and then start filling in. Okay, now that we've done that, we're going to rotate over into written plant care instructions so you can get all this information written out, and then we'll come back and do a quick summary at the end. All right, let's go on to that step. We hope this information was helpful to you. And again, we want to send our thanks out to Farmers Defense for giving us these products to try out. Here's a cool one. Look at this one. If you ladies want to try one, they have them all different sizes for men and women. And what I forgot to mention earlier is that this spandex material is actually made of Reprieve, which is recycled plastic bottles. So cool, so cool. They have a whole bunch you can check out. But I do like it. It's cool. It breathes a little bit, which is nice. And the main thing is for those who have sensitive skin or who's pruning stuff around plants with thorns, this will help protect a little bit. It's not going to stop from a massive bougainvillea thorn, but it'll keep you from getting those scrapes you get from them. So it's really cool. And then all I got to do is pull them up and wash them if you get them dirty. All right. So again, thanks for stopping by. And if you have any thoughts or questions, and we'll leave a link, by the way, for Farmers Defense down there so you can go check out the products yourself. But if you have any questions, just leave it in the comment section below and we'll make sure we get back to you. Until the next video, bye. Please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And tell your friends and family. We post videos weekly. Thanks.